I'll wait for Sue. Oh, Madam Clerk, did I hear we need to be sworn in before we call the meeting to order? Okay. We'll do, no, you're good. We'll do that. You're going to do it individually? I, Ben Walsh.
Latoya Allen.
I, Patrona Jones-Rouser.
Caitlin Wright.
Do solemnly swear
That I will support the Constitution of the United States.
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
Constitution of the State of New York.
Constitution of the State of New York,
The Charter of the City of Syracuse.
and the Charter of the City of Syracuse.
And that I will faithfully discharge the duties.
And I will faithfully discharge the duties
Of member of the Syracuse Housing Strategies Corporation Board.
as a member of the Syracuse Housing Strategies
Corporation Board.
In and for the City of Syracuse.
in and for the City of Syracuse,
According to the best of my abilities.
according to the best of my abilities. Help me God.
Congratulations, you guys. You all can
Thank you,
sign.
Madam Clerk.
I think Mary- Thank you for passing it out.
Patricia. Sure. Where do I sign, right here?
Yeah. What's that? Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. I will note that all board members are present with the exception of Rob Simpson and Council President Hudson, both of whom are excused. Just note that the proof of notice is included on the second page of your packet. And next up on the agenda, we have a motion to ratify the actions of the incorporators. So we'll entertain a motion. Moved by,
Second.
okay. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Okay, next up, we have a resolution to adopt the bylaws. Michelle, anything you want to share about those before we?
No, there's a summary that's included with your packet here. I think all of you are very familiar with they largely are reflecting kind of a typical set of bylaws for a board of directors. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to speak to those.
Questions about the bylaws? We have Michelle here and Corporation Counsel Katzoff. Otherwise, I will entertain a motion to adopt the bylaws.
Motion.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Next up, we have our board officers. So, Michelle, you want to introduce the recommendations?
Sure, yeah, so we are recommending the bylaws that were just adopted. They have 3 positions for officers that include a board chair, a board vice chair, and then a secretary treasurer position. Putting forward a recommendation that Mayor Walsh serve in the role as the board chair, that Council President Hudson would serve as the vice chair, and that Caitlin Wright would serve as the secretary treasurer, particularly just because that position is the most involved with filings of different minutes. She's got a lot of experience with doing that already for the land bank. So,
Questions or concerns about the recommendations? Okay, entertain a motion for the resolution. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. All right, next up we have committees. Michelle, you want to talk us through that? There's some
Yeah.
specific rules that we have to follow in terms of membership, so you can talk us through those.
sure. So the bylaws and then what we're obligated to under New York State Public Authorities law require that at least 3 of the board members must be, or 3 of each committee members must be independent. So that within our current composition that we have right now, our 3 independent members are Counselor Hogan, Rob Simpson, and LaToya Allen. So by default, all 3 of them need to be on each of the 3 committees, just because of the way that it kind of works out. The reason that all of the rest of the positions are not considered independent is because it's a function of the fact that they're elected officials. So effectively, that takes what is a 9-person board down to 5 people. That's how we get to 3 independents making up the majority. So by default, within all three of our committees, finance, governance, and audit, LaToya, Counselor Hogan, and Rob would need to be on all 3 of them. I think we are additionally recommending that Caitlin serve on both as well in the capacity of the secretary treasurer, just from a minutes and document keeping perspective within that. We can stop there in terms of putting on additional members. Or if there's other volunteers that want to serve on any of the committees, we're more than welcome to add those in as well.
Could you repeat that? I just misunderstood that. You said for the 3 people that are on their independent. Explain that a little bit.
As required by New York State law, we have to have at least a majority independent member, so majority for our composition because of the way that the bylaws were incorporated and specifically tied to elected positions. 3 is what is considered our majority. So we have 3 members who currently meet that majority requirement. And so all 3 of them need to be on each of the committees for us to remain in compliance.
So those 3 being LaToya, Rob Simpson, and Counselor Hogan?
Yes.
Okay, and just for our, I think you're probably going to the same place. So how do we differentiate Counselor Hogan from the other counselors?
Because that position, he's in a seat that was the jointly appointed seat. He is not required to be, though he is a common counselor, that's not required for the seat itself.
Gotcha. Explains it. Okay.
Okay. So then, again, it sounds like we essentially have we have 4 committee members accounted for in LaToya, Counselor Hogan, Rob, and Caitlin. And then it's just a matter of if any other members would like to sit on any one of the committees.
Yeah, I think just in terms of kind of what that involves from a commitment standpoint, Finance Committee would be the one that is going to be meeting the most frequently, largely probably about once a month. The other 2 were less often. I anticipate that we will need to meet. We're required to meet at least twice a year for those 2 committees, but.
Safe to say we could reserve our right to change committee makeup. So, for example, Rob and, Rob's on the committees, but with Council President Hudson, obviously she's not here. She may have a strong opinion one way or the other. We can change accordingly.
Yep.
Okay. So really, Rashida and Petrona, if you'd like to volunteer at this point for any of the committees?
Volunteer for the governance committee.
Governance for Petrona.
But I'm sorry, did we say who was on those committees out of those original 3?
So of the 3 that we mentioned, so Rob, LaToya, and Counselor Hogan will need to be on all 3 committees.
Oh, all 3?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
each of the 3. And then we're also recommending that Caitlin be on all 3 as well.
I will, I guess I'll take audit.
Okay, great.
Is President Hudson going to be on all 3 too?
I was going to give her the chance to volunteer, but I suppose we could add her, and then if she didn't want to be on.
Well, I just for purposes. I can take audit, but if she wants, I'll take the one that, is available. It doesn't matter. I'll get on either one of them, doesn't matter.
Thanks.
So when these committees meet, will they choose a chairman at that time?
The way it's written in the
Like a
by,
chairman of a finance committee, chairman of audit committee and all that?
I believe the way that it's written in the bylaws is that the board chair can identify a chair for each of the committees. So, the board chair is an ex officio member of all of the committees, kind of by default.
So why don't we, just to make sure everyone's accounted for, why don't we include Council President Hudson on the Finance Committee, Councilor Caldwell on the Audit Committee, and Councilor Jones-Rouser on the Governance Committee, and we can change if we feel the need to. Sound okay? Okay. Great. All right, so that, I believe I will, the names that I just shared can be put in the form of a motion for a resolution. Sue?
I'll formulate the motion for you.
Okay?
So with respect to the Finance Committee, the motion would be that the Finance Committee members would consist of Counselor Hogan, Rob Simpson, Latoya, Caitlin, and President Hudson,
And myself.
and yourself. Are you on each one?
I believe so.
Okay. Thank you. So that would be the motion for the Finance Committee. And they're all subject to the swearing in of the two members who weren't able to be here today.
Rob was sworn in.
Oh, he was, I apologize.
And so do you want us to take each of these committee resolutions one at a time?
Yes, please, because
Okay.
the composition is different.
Got it. So that you formulated the motion and someone can offer it?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
The next motion for your consideration is the composition of the Audit Committee, and the motion would be to appoint Hogan, Simpson, Latoya, Caitlin, Rashida, and Mayor Walsh. I apologize for using some of your first names and last, it's just so I have them written down.
First meeting. Okay, so that's a motion. Anyone like to offer it?
Motion.
We have a second.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
And
Next.
one last time. For the Governance Committee, it would be comprised of Pat, Rob, Latoya, Caitlin, Petrona, and Mayor Walsh.
If you said Ben, you would have been consistently using the first.
I know, but I
names.
might have also been fired, so I thought I'd skip that.
Okay, thank you, Sue. Okay, there's a motion. Anybody like to offer it?
So move.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Okay, we have our committees. We reserve the right to change them if need be. Next up, we have a resolution to appoint corporate officers as our executive director, Michelle Sapansky, and as chief financial officer, Mike Canizaro. Is Mike here with us today? He's
I don't
not?
think he was going to be here today.
Okay. So is that one resolution? All right. Anyone like to offer that resolution?
I just want to point out the obvious. Their services are being provided as an in-kind contribution from the city?
Correct.
Okay. So we don't have any money.
Yeah, although that's comes to
We'll
the
get
next
there.
item on our agenda, which is to open a bank account, so we can
Okay.
deposit some. So, no, that's an important point, though, Caitlin, thank you. So anyone like to offer that motion?
I'll motion.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, speaking of money, we need to open up a bank account. Anything to share? Have we identified a bank yet, Michelle? Any
No,
other
I think
details?
Mike had a couple thoughts in mind, but I think I would recommend that we consider putting forward the motion so that it can be done at his discretion.
All right, so we're basically giving the Mike as our newly appointed CFO, the authorization to open up a bank account. Good. All right. Anyone like to offer that motion?
Sorry, who
Second.
moved?
Latoya moved,
Thank you.
Rashida seconded. Any
It'll-
further?
I'm sorry. It'll be in a account where anything over the FDIC limit is collateralized. He's got that covered, okay.
Yeah.
Sounds like you've done this before. Important question. So with that understanding, we have a motion, we have a second, and any further discussion?
Yes, how many signatures will be, who will be the bonded individuals for the bank account?
That is a good question.
Well, it will be up to Mike and the bank, quite honestly. Some banks require one, some two, some three, I've seen. Typically, it would be the chair and one other person, maybe the executive director, maybe the CFO. So what
Maybe
I.
the treasurer.
Maybe the treasurer, yes. And they do it so that there is checks and balances, so that, I'm not besmirching Caitlin, but let's assume she decided she wanted to go to Bermuda and write a check and sign it. This prevents her, those safeguards are there to prevent her from doing that. But again, it will be dictated in some portion by the bank itself. And then I think that you give the CFO discretion to determine how that would be. The other alternative, if I'm being completely honest, is you ask him to report back before he opens it and give you the options. I don't know how critical it is that your bank account be open before your next meeting, but
Yeah, so I think we can have, just via email, maybe Mike can report back, update on the bank, the signature requirement with a proposal as to what he recommends and what the bank requires, and then if we feel the need to come back and change that, we can.
right. And you can always amend it later.
Right.
You can always add people.
Right.
So
But I think
that
that-
discretion is there in any
Okay,
event.
but this resolution is really just related to opening the account.
Correct.
Okay. Anyone like to offer that motion?
Motion.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. All right, next up, we have a mission statement. Michelle, would you like to read the mission statement for us?
Yeah, so the proposed mission statement that we have for the Housing Strategies Corporation is the goal of the Syracuse Housing Strategies Corporation, also known as SHSC, is to enable a protected, flexible source of capital to create and preserve safe, affordable, and attractive housing opportunities for current and future residents in the city of Syracuse.
Anyone have any thoughts about the mission statement? Questions? I'm curious what the thought was behind the word protected. Was there anything?
Dedicated, I think, is another synonym that we could use.
Okay. So in other words, we can't dip into it to, transfer to another
Yes.
use.
Correct, yeah, it's for the purposes as outlined within our certificate of incorporation.
Got it. Sound good to everyone? Yeah? Yeah. Okay. We'll entertain a motion for the mission statement resolution.
So moved.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Did you have something, Caitlin?
Just kind of on a related note, we've talked a lot about the Housing Trust Fund, and from a branding perspective, do you want us to do business as the Housing Trust Fund?
I think that is a consideration that we should make. I think we could go either way with it, but we should, for consistency purposes, make a decision on that sooner rather than later.
So Caitlin, again, having experience there, so can you just talk about what the land bank went through?
We couldn't have the word bank in our actual name.
Right.
So we incorporated as the Greater Syracuse Property Development Corporation, but for a year and a half up until that point, we had been talking about creating a land bank. So we'd filed a DBA to operate as the Greater Syracuse Land Bank and didn't have any legal problems with that.
And I would just, and for those reasons, I would just like to have the opportunity to check that
Yeah.
doing a DBA with the word trust in it doesn't hit red flags for someone at the State Department.
Anybody have strong feelings pending Sue's confirmation about the use of the term trust fund versus the Syracuse Housing Strategies Corporation, which I am going to have to commit to memory here? Okay, yeah, why don't you look into it and report back, Sue?
Will do, thank you.
Thanks. Okay. And finally, our last resolution on the agenda is to approve the Syracuse Housing Strategy. So Michelle, do you want to just offer a little bit of context for the board and the public?
Yeah, so this is largely affirming the motion that was just put forward and authorized by the council a couple weeks back, adopting the Syracuse Housing Strategy kind of as the framework. We're effectively kind of affirming that here within this group as it pertains to just kind of how we're looking to advance the investments and activities of the Housing Strategies Corporation. We want to be mirroring the strategy that's been approved by the council.
Got it. Okay, any questions or concerns about that? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Is there any other business to come before the board?
Congratulations, Mayor.
Thanks.
Common Council, and Michelle, and everybody who worked on this. This is an important step for the whole city as a whole.
Agreed. Been a true team effort. Thank you all.
I want to go back to 9, I'm sorry.
Sure, no problem.
So the question is, are we going to continue to use the word Housing Trust Fund over the Syracuse Housing Strategies Corporation?
Just in terms of, so I think, yeah, in terms of filing a DBA and publicly referring to, just as we refer to the Greater Syracuse Land Bank as a land bank, even though we can't incorporate as the housing trust, do we still want to use that terminology? You have an
Maybe
opinion?
if Sue thinks it's legal.
If Sue confirms that it's legal.
Not a big deal, I guess, but I do think that in the beginning with the difference of the two names for the land bank, when it was first incorporated, I think that there was like some confusion with residents at the time, because no one knew who the Greater Syracuse, whatever, development, whatever, because everybody already knew land bank.
Right.
So I think consistency is probably the best practice, but I don't have a big opinion on it, so.
And what was the original, just so I'm clear, what was the original proposed name?
Syracuse Housing Trust Fund Corporation.
Syracuse Housing Trust Fund Corporation. So,
Do you have preference, Michelle?
I think it's really just kind of whatever is easiest to say.
yeah, I agree with Petrona. It did get a little confusing at times. So let's everybody think about it a little bit, and we'll hear back from Sue, so we don't have to make a hard decision and only to find out that it's not an option. And
I
what's that?
think the housing trust fund can be a little misleading to some if they are looking at this as a typical trust fund.
Right.
But then I think the housing strategies gives us more flexibility and more room to be creative. You know what I mean? So
It's a good point. And it's still early. I mean, we've been
Yeah.
talking about the land bank for a long time before
Yeah.
that was established. So, okay, that's helpful. Okay, well, if there's no other business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
so moved.
Second.
Favor? Aye. Opposed? Meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everybody. Congratulations again.
Thank you.